Hi friends, this is Harsha Buddala. Today I would like to present my analysis about Indian economy. Is Modi government really transforming the Indian economy or destroying the Indian economy? After Raghuram Rajan sacked as RBI governor and the decision of demonetization and implementation of GST and even many economists openly criticizing the policies of the current government and the recent issue between the RBI and central government has raised many questions in the minds of the common man. Today I would like to present my analysis on this so that you can decide whether the economy is under transforming or under destruction. As the topic was somewhat complicated, for the purpose of better understanding, I would like to give you a little background about the Indian economy, its strength, and the fundamentals on which the Indian economy was built. In the year 1994, when India decided to globalize her economy, many are of the positive view that India should have to globalize her economy. And the world famous political economist known as Francis Fukuyama had said that the rest of the world has decided to follow the West, which is best for the rest. This was the situation at that time. And at that time, our understanding about Indian economy was India can't grow without globalization. This was the situation at that time, and even many bureaucrats has suggested, their advice to the domestic manufacturers was, it's better to shut down your manufacturing unit, that you can't compete with the giant corporates after globalization. This was the situation at that time. Some section of economists, intellectuals, professors are of the opinion that India should not globalize her economy without analyzing it properly. They are of the view that economics is just a theory, it has a lot to do with people, the investment model, expenditure model, savings model of people differ from country to country, civilization to civilization, and how can you implement an economic policy which wasn't meant for India? And a team consisting of Sri Gurumurthy ji, Professor Kanaga Sabhapati has decided to travel all over the country to know the economic strengths and its capacity to face the world economic forces. And after traveling all over the country, they found something totally different operating in the ground, which is contrary to what is being projected. They visited around 40 to 50 industrial clusters, and you will be surprised after listening to what was happening in that industrial clusters. They visited industrial clusters like Ludhiana, Jalandhar, Rajkot, Surat and Tirupur, etc. Ludhiana is a place of machine tools. The world cycle manufacturers are sourcing their spare parts from Ludhiana, and it was not built by any engineering college. A community called Ram Gadiyar community is the force behind this success, and no any media or no any engineering college, any management institution had done a study about this. And similarly, Jalandhar is a place of carpentry where they are not manufacturing any chairs or tables, they are manufacturing cricket bats. The entire Australian cricket board, South African cricket board and the English cricket board are the customers of Jalandhar. And Rajkot is a place, is very famous for diesel engines. In 1954, a Patel blacksmith has imported a diesel engine, and by reverse engineering, he replicated it. As a result of it, there were around 55 assembling units and 2,500 ancillary industries. The entrepreneurs of Rajkot proudly claim that within 6 months after launching a new vehicle, wherever in the world, we are ready to supply the spare parts. And SKY, the leading manufacturer of bearings, had openly acknowledged that the bearings manufactured in Rajkot are more superior in quality than anywhere in the world. But our own bureaucrats had suggested to the domestic manufacturers to shut down their industries as that they can't compete with the giant MNCs. This is what the contradiction that we have about India. And even we think very high about our corporates. The entire corporate sectors contributes only 16% of the total GDP of India even today. Not only GDP contribution but also employment. About 80% of the total workforce in India are working in informal sector. It is the highest employment generating sector. From the year 1994 to 2014, the total number of new jobs created in the corporate sector was just 2.8 million. The highest per capita income was not in any metro cities where these giant corporates are located. The highest per capita income in India was in a small town called Morbi in Gujarat. They manufacture Ajanta wall clocks. The total population of Morbi was about around 2.4 lakhs, out of which 1.4 lakhs are employed. They were devastated by a dam burst in the year 1962, but even after suffering from a dam burst, they bounced back. Even after suffering from an earthquake, they bounced back. Not even a single management institution, an IIM, and intellectuals and economists had never done a study that how Morbi had bounced back after suffering that many natural calamities. We even fail to know about the glory of our past, how giant the Indian economy is. Not for decades or centuries, India had led the world economy for 1500 years. You will be surprised after listening to the data which I will quote you now. Even our glory was also not studied by us, it was even studied by the West. In the year 1971, when Japan started growing, the West was shocked. How can a country from third world is supposed to be developed? As per their view, a country from third world was not supposed to be developed. Then came this man, Mr. Paul Bayrock, a Belgian economist, made a study about the economies of different nations and their development between the period 1750 to 1918. And his findings are, in 1750, China contributes 32.8% of the global GDP, India 25% of the global GDP, and UK 1.8%, America 0.1% of GDP. In the year 1750, the total UK and US contribution to the world GDP was just 2%. This was the situation at that time. And in the year 1800, India's contribution to the world GDP was 20%, and 1830 17%, 1880 8%, and in the year 1900 it fell down to 1.7%. After this, the West was shocked, and they gave this job to study and verify whether Mr. Paul Bayrock was correct or not to a famous economist called Angus Madison. The OECD countries, it was not done by India, the OECD countries totally funded this study and appointed Mr. Angus Madison to test and verify whether Mr. Paul Bayrock is correct or not. This man, Angus Madison, had came up with a 2000 years of economic study, the 2000 years of world economic study, and he had revealed that India is the leading economy for 1500 years, and he made a study from right beginning from the common era to 1500 years. And in the beginning of the common era, India's contribution to the world GDP was 34%, followed by China. And in the year 1000, India leads with 28%, and in the year 1400, India leads, 1500, India leads, 1600, in the year 1600, China overtakes India, and in the year 1700, India overtakes China. The competition was between the Asian countries, India and China. The West's contribution to the world GDP was very low at that time. These two countries had led the world economy, and Angus Madison made a conclusion that the destruction of Indian economy was due to the colonial exploitation by the West. And you know what was the driving force for the glory of 1500 years and the development of these many industrial clusters without the help of the government? The driving force behind this was the society, community and civilization.